So this week on Sprague River Homestead, we're going greenhouse. Are you ready? So one of the major things we're doing this week on Sprague River Homestead is getting our geodesic dome ready to put crops in. So as you see behind, and you might have seen in the background before, this is made out of PVC pipe and zip ties, believe it or not. So this is a geodesic dome, and then over top of it is a plastic film, I guess you'd call it, that's going over top, and between the two of us we just drag it up and over. Now this is a kit you can buy online, which is where we originally got it, and you just erect it where you want it, and it's a fantastic greenhouse. Let me go inside and kind of show you what the inside is looking like. So inside the greenhouse itself, you can see these are just PVC here, and on the ground right there is actually some straw bales that we used last year. Now we tried to grow tomatoes, eggplant, and some squash and some different peppers and things, and it didn't turn out that well. It didn't really just give us the yield that we wanted. So this year we're going to leave the straw bales that are decomposed. We're going to add in some homemade compost manure that we've left in the field to kind of tenderize and decompose. And then we're going to add in some Miracle Gro bags of soil over top. Now this should give us a good opportunity to again try some peppers, tomatoes in itself, and it's all an experiment to see what we can do this year. So if I give you kind of a lower view here, you can see there's the straw bales, that's the compost, and then we haven't added the Miracle Gro. It's still out in the tractor, but that'll be done. So if I stand up and show you behind me so you can see everything there. And this is pretty tall, so again, these are just connectors. Looks like a 4-inch PVC cut down. Ooh, there it is. Cut down, and then it's just held together with zip ties. You can see them kind of poking through in the back there. So now it's kind of showing you the outside of the dome here. There's a tractor with the Miracle Gro in it, and that's about 25 bags of the 0.75 cubic feet. And this is how they connect. So this is just a connector in, and this just snaps over the PVC itself to hold the plastic down. So the domes themselves for the design is from ziptiedomes.com, and I think when we bought this a couple years ago, it was only a couple $100 or a few $100. Really was pretty inexpensive, and just keeping up the maintenance on it, you'll do pretty well to get a few years out of it probably. The plastic itself, this is the second set we've put on, or the second piece. And it'll get us, probably 2 or 3 years out of it once we just keep maintaining it. All right, so one last note on this. So these connectors are about $1 a piece, and the cover itself I think was around $80, and that came from Greenhouse Megastore. Yep. GreenhouseMegastore.com if you want to check them out, kind of see what we're up to. So between the cover, the connectors itself, and the kit, and the PVC is extra. The hubs themselves are what you come out of the zip-tied domes, so you'll get the PVC at kind of like a hardware store. But total out of this whole thing, less than $500. That's pretty darn cheap when you're homesteading and you can grow a ton of stuff, and if you're in a place to do it year-round, that's a pretty good deal. So as the sun sets on another beautiful day, you can see behind me there's no grass left, and if I pan around here, this is where we just did last weekend, where we moved the goats in to a new pasture outside the barn, because there's the barn. So what we decided to do, rather than focus on fencing, which is going to take a lot this year, we're going to try and go get some cattle panels in the morning. So we're going to duplicate this. Essentially, we're going to make a row down this way. So if I point out that way, we're going to make a row out into that, and then extend kind of out into there. So we're going to kind of, I guess, do rotational grazing, and maybe every weekend spend an hour or two putting in some new posts, because the ground's pretty easy. A couple hits and they're in. So we're going to do that, put them, kind of make them every weekend a little bit of some grazing, which it'll last about a week before they outgrow their area. So every weekend we'll kind of do that and extend our feeding season, I guess, really. It's about time for hay cutting, and we need to go buy some, but we can get by with what's sitting in the barn up here for you know, we'll extend it out another couple months with what we have left and then do it that way. And this, other than labor, well, and the cattle panels, is pretty free. For the first time in a couple of years, we actually got a harvest of rhubarb, and I did go ahead and can it. This is stewed rhubarb. Didn't make a lot, 6 little half pints, but like I said, I haven't gotten any in a couple years. We've had issues with our rhubarb going to bolt and to go to seed, which hauls out the stems. So this year I got right on it and got some. And because I cut it all back, it looks like it's going to try again. So we might actually get a second harvest this year. So in the last 2 weeks, we've had a couple of litters of new Harlequins, and we did have one new litter of Americans. I did have a doe that hemorrhaged after delivery for the first time ever. I've never had that happen. So we lost her, but Girly was able to salvage the last of the 2 magpies that were in that litter. So we do have a couple little fosters in here. And despite being a very large litter for Harlequins, I think she's up to 11. Everybody looks fat and sassy and doing well. So you can see for the first year in several years, we actually have our dome installed. Everything's up. What we use in the dome is just our hothouse type plants that don't really do very well outside here because of our cool temps. So we have tomatoes, eggplants, and peppers. So hopefully, keep your fingers crossed, we'll have some tomatoes this year. So what it is the bales from last year that we tried to grow in, we actually tried to do straw bale gardening. It didn't go very well. So what I've done, since the bales are still holding shape for the most part, we've put about a 2-inch layer of compost, followed by about an inch of Miracle Gro soil on top. The Miracle Gro is really there so that I can plant like basil in amongst my tomatoes. So I needed a good soil to get those seeds started. As you can see, the openings are just a stick-on zipper. They're made for tarps, so you find them in like the paint department of Home Depot. We have 4 at 4 corners of the dome, and we have them unzipped right now and then spread open with some spring clamps onto our PVC. And that's just going to give us some airflow and keep this from getting a little too hot in here. Well, our potatoes are finally starting to come up. They were all up a couple inches, and then we got a freeze 2 nights this week. So they burned back off, but you can see, hopefully you can see, they are starting to come back up. So this is one of 4 potato beds. This is a 12-footer. We've got 2 16s and another 12 that I'm not done with yet. We got those in. We got onions going, asparagus, and of course all of our herbs are going. Because we've got a lot of warm weather in the forecast, I'll be planting everything this week. So squash, corn, all the usual goodness. So the last thing we'll kind of showcase this week is owlbirds. So we've had trouble with rodents the last couple of years, and with quail and dove and that getting into the garden, nibbling off the heads, and never really allowing our garden to flourish. So this year we thought we'd try to get kind of one of these stationary owls. So his head will spin around in that, and we just move him every day when we water the garden. So he's so far repelled some doves, and we had a big squirrel that was getting in here eating stuff that we haven't seen for a few days since he came out. So perhaps he's going to keep us in the green this year. All right, so as I mentioned that I was going to add another yard for the goats, that is done. I did it all yesterday. So we went down to Home Depot, and they were having a sale on panels, and then we got the bulk pricing. So we ended up buying 240 T-posts there, and we bought 20 panels. And what I've been able to do is add the panels we bought, so I have a couple left over. Thank you. What is this? So anyway, I've added on. I've let them in. So, would you quit?
She's barking at Mom.
And so I'm going to take this center one out, move it to an exterior wall next time, and then take the panels I have left and make another yard that I'll let them into next weekend. So that's my project for today. Apparently there's something killer out in the woods today. And that's really it. So I'm just kind of staggering them out, building it bigger and bigger and bigger, and then I'm going to move to that side in a couple weeks. So that's it for this time on Sprague River Homestead. Next week, I don't know, we're winging it. It's all good. So we'll see you next time.